Thank you so much, and I'm delighted to be back here in Thunder Bay with the All-Star Kevin Holland, Thunder Bay out of Koken, and Rick Dumas, Thunder Bay Superior North. Rick, I look forward for you coming down to Queens Park, and a big thank you to my friends at LiUNA Local 607 for hosting us. Absolute champions. You know, folks, these are the people that are building the infrastructure right across the north, right across our province, and I told them, they gave me a shirt like this last time. I think it might be in my luggage, but I got another one. This is my favorite shirt out of all. And these are my favorite people. They work their backs off to build our province. My friends, Thunder Bay is a proud port city. It's a vital link that ties our country together and a major manufacturing, resource, and trade hub for Northern Ontario. I know, I've heard about the threat of Donald Trump's tariffs to workers here in Thunder Bay. I'll tell you a quick little story here. I just pulled over at the TD Bank, went in, grabbed a few dollars to get a Tim Hortons, and all 5 people at the TD Bank, their number one concern was Donald Trump's tariffs. Told me, keep fighting. Boy, I won't stop fighting. So I just want to tell you that little story. It's top of mind for everyone. And it's not just here, by the way. I hear it in Sudbury and Timmins, and in Sault Ste. Marie. I hear it in Hamilton, in Windsor, in London. I hear it in Brampton, in Oakville. I hear it everywhere across Ontario. Donald Trump's tariffs would devastate our economy. They'd put hundreds of thousands of jobs at risk. Auto jobs, manufacturing jobs, construction jobs, forestry jobs, and mining jobs. But we'll get through this together. You know, we're a resilient province. We're a resilient country, and we saw it the other day when we kicked the U.S. butt in hockey there. So, and I know, Kevin, the ironic thing is the silver medal that they're going to get is silver from Ontario that we're going to be shipping down there. So we'll stare down the threat, any threat. We'll stand up to any attack, and we'll do whatever it takes to protect Ontario. We'll make sure we protect jobs, businesses, families, and the economy right across Ontario. I will not hesitate to spend what it takes to protect people's families, the folks right behind me, until they can always bring home a check. We'll increase the spending on infrastructure as well. That's where we can sustain this, putting money into the roads, into the highways, into the mines, into forestry, and so on and so forth. I'll work with everyone, and I promise you, I will stand up to anyone, including Donald Trump, to support workers, to help businesses keep their lights on, and to provide a lifeline to the communities hardest hit. Canada will never, ever become the 51st state. Canada is not for sale. It will never be for sale. With your support, a re-elected PC government will lead the way to make Canada more self-sufficient. We're going to diversify our trade. We're going to rebuild the economy so that we can stand up to any bully, so that we can protect Ontario. The front line in our battle against Donald Trump's tariffs starts right here in Northern Ontario. Northern Ontario's critical minerals are a global game changer. We have the critical minerals the world needs. The Ring of Fire alone is the largest deposit of critical minerals in the entire world. No matter if it's chromite, cobalt, high-grade nickel, copper, platinum. Matter of fact, folks, there's 33 critical minerals here in Ontario that the world wants them, our allies need them, but Ontario has them. Our critical minerals are essential to the global economy. They'll be a source of jobs, businesses, and wealth for northern communities, for First Nations, and for our entire province and country. But our Ontario's critical minerals don't do us any good if they're just stuck in the ground. Over the last 7 years, we've been hard at work. After decades of inaction, we're seeing results. In January, I was proud to sign an agreement with the Arrowland First Nations. Now, alongside our agreements with Webequie First Nations and Martin Falls First Nations, for the first time in Ontario's history, we've made agreements in place to build roads right along the entire route to the Ring of Fire. But to protect Ontario, to give us maximum leverage on global stage, we have to get our critical minerals out of the ground processed and shipped to the factory floors here in our northern Ontario and across the province. Folks, when I just came back from Washington, I met the governors and senators. No one used to talk about critical minerals, right? No one would. They'd be down here. But all of a sudden now, China's the threat. They're cornering the market. There's one safe haven around the world, and that's Ontario and Canada. And that's all they wanted to talk about, is critical minerals. You know, that's our ace in the hole, along with the energy that we have. And our critical minerals in Ontario is equal to the energy Alberta has in the oil fields there. As we face down the threat of President Trump's tariffs, we need to do more, and we need to do it a lot faster. President Trump is on a mission to redirect every dollar of investment he can for America's economy. He's promising major reforms to streamline regulations and speed up approvals. If Ontario wants to compete, if we want to attract investment and create better jobs with bigger paychecks, we have to be bold. A re-elected PC government will make Ontario the most competitive place in the entire world in the G7 to invest, to do business and create jobs. To do so, to get it done, we need the federal government to get out of our way. They've been holding this project up, God knows, for 20 years, keep delaying and delaying and delaying. I was very clear with the Prime Minister this week when we met with the premiers: get out of our way and let Ontario move forward, and we can be the wealthiest, the richest, the safest jurisdiction anywhere in the world. We need them to scrap unnecessary barriers and red tape that duplicate provincial processes, raise costs, and slow down approvals for critical mineral projects in the Ring of Fire. We'll do whatever it takes to assert our authority over our natural resources, including by taking the federal government to court over the Impact Assessment Act. With the federal government out of our way, first, a re-elected PC government will unleash the economic potential of the Ring of Fire and Ontario's critical minerals. We'll designate regions where multiple critical mineral deposits are present or likely to be present, including the Ring of Fire, as regions of strategic importance to Canada's economy and Canadian security. Within these regions, will significantly speed up approvals and permitting. Pre-approved project proponents that meet high operating safety and environmental standards will be granted automatic approvals to proceed with early works, once they met their duty to consult obligations. Second, I want First Nations people to benefit from this enormous opportunity. So we'll invest $70 million to expand the Aboriginal Participation Fund to ensure First Nations workers have the skills they need to directly benefit from critical mineral development. This is a big one, the next one. We'll launch a new $3 billion, with a B, $3 billion First Nations Opportunity Financing Program to support First Nations equity participation in a growing number of sectors like energy, electricity, critical minerals, offering generational economic opportunities for First Nations communities in Ontario. And will create new scholarship opportunities for First Nations students to study and learn at Ontario world-class colleges and universities, and lead the future of resource development in Canada. A re-elected PC government will also legislate a one project, one process approach for mining and development. And I know Kevin and a lot of people in the mining sector and forestry sector up here, believe it or not, it could take 10 to 15 years. As our competitors around the world, including Donald Trump, is saying, invest $1 billion and we'll get approvals immediately. That's what we're up against, and we will compete. That streamlines permitting, provides greater certainty, and speeds up approvals with service standard timeline guarantees. And finally, we'll invest $500 million in a new critical mineral processing fund to speed up key processing projects, attract private capital investment, and speed up strategic projects in our critical mineral supply chain so we can create jobs right here in Thunder Bay. We can process the minerals here in Thunder Bay and across Ontario. And from here, with our great ports, we can ship it around the world. Friends, we're in a battle for the future of our province, for the future of our country. Our best defense is a strong economy That's the foundation of everything, is our economy. Our best defense is critical minerals. With your support, I'm ready to unleash the economic potential of Northern Ontario. I'm ready to protect Ontario, and I want to thank you, and may God bless the people of Ontario. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. How you doing?
Good morning.
Good morning.
So first question, I want to talk about highway safety.
Yes.
Issue up here, and there's a couple of fatal incidents on our Trans-Canada Highway over the past couple of weeks. Basically, should the PCs form the next government, what specifically would you do to improve highway safety in Northern Ontario, especially along highways 11 and 7?
Yeah, great question. We're going to make a big announcement without releasing the announcement right now. We're going to make a big announcement here at Quail Falls. You know, I've driven these roads. I'll be very frank, it's terrifying. When you're coming one-on-one and someone moves over a foot, that's dangerous. The other thing is we've legislated they have to clear the roads within 4 hours, putting money towards the Ministry of Transportation to help clear roads, and I'm going to pass it over to Kevin. He lives here, he gets it. And by the way, I got to give Kevin just a big, kudos. Folks, before Kevin was elected, no one showed up here. I'm telling you, that's a fact. Since Kevin's been elected, let me get this number. He set a record across our province. Over 110 ministers' meetings. Is it over 110? 108? Well, now it's going to be 109. That's unheard of anywhere in the province. 109 visits from ministers. We've invested here because of the leadership of Kevin and great folks here at LiUNA. Is it 1.3 billion? Just think of this, $1.3 billion. And that's why we have to get our other friend. The louder the voices down at Queen's Park, the better it is. So we're going to continue focusing on road safety, but I'll hand it over to you, Kevin. You okay there, buddy?
Thanks, Premier. So road safety absolutely is a huge priority for our government, for myself and Rick in particular here locally. Over the last 2.5 years, I've had the opportunity to speak with MTO, the OPP, on the incidents of the accidents that we're seeing on the highway, particularly around commercial truck vehicles. And when we delve into the causes of those accidents, we're finding a good portion of those involving commercial vehicles as a result at fault of passenger vehicles. Now, the ones that are commercial vehicle related, majority of those are from trucks that are licensed outside jurisdiction of Ontario. So we have a real challenge in how we can ensure that we have a national standard for driver training and driver licensing across the country. We can't control what the training and the licensing requirements are in other parts of Canada right now. So it's one thing we're looking at, how we can address that and make sure that people that are coming into Ontario licensed in other jurisdictions are aware of the conditions they're going to see here and experience here. My 21 years as a firefighter, we did a lot of Auto X calls, and we used to dub, when we went to an accident, a lot of these trucks California trucks, because they would have steering tires on their drivetrains, by example. So these are all areas that we're addressing. We've seen a reduction in the number of accidents over a 10-year average. We've seen a slight spike recently, but we're taking the measures that we to look into it, to see what the root cause is, so that we can put together a good solid plan to address it. My style isn't negotiating in the public. My style is to negotiate at the tables where we can see real change.
And my follow-up, Mr. Ford, obviously you and Kevin here and Rick are taking questions from us today. Recently here in Thunder Bay, there was an all-candidates debate organized by several local civic organizations. There was no PC attendance at said debate. Why are local candidates not participating in public debates?
Well, some are and some aren't, but we're out there in the media every single day. have logged more kilometers than all three parties combined. Matter of fact, double the amount, probably close to triple the amount. Getting out there, we're speaking and talking to the people, meeting the people, and that's the most important thing. We're hearing the number one issues is the economy, making sure we have a strong economy. That's a foundation of our healthcare, of our education, into infrastructure, into building roads. It's the economy, and what can affect the economy? These tariffs. Donald Trump's tariffs, we're at risk. And as far as I'm concerned, you know, when I went down there, I always tell our Canadians, when we go down to the U.S., it's not the people down there. They love Canadians. We love Americans. They just can't understand what the president's doing. Even Republicans, people that supported the president, are telling me, you guys aren't the problem. You know who the problem is? China's the problem. Shipping in cheap parts. That's the problem. You know, capping all the critical minerals, trying to take over the world when it comes to critical minerals. But I'll tell you, they're never going to take over Canada, and they aren't taking over Ontario's critical minerals. That's what I'm hearing on infrastructure as well. So those are the key things on this campaign now, is protecting our economy against President Trump's tariffs. That's number one over anything.
Media Broadcasting.
Hi.
So prior to the election call, you provided $93 million to the Thunder Bay Regional Health Sciences Centers
Yes.
to support wraparound care here. $17 million to St. Joseph's Care Group to support infrastructure there. There's a paramedic crisis in the region. We have heavy shortages. The hospitals are getting the funding. How do we make sure we can get our patients there?
So we've added over 300 seats across the province. We also put the Learn and Stay grant is available to paramedics. I just want to explain the Learn and Stay grant. So we'll pay for all their education. It's pretty costly, but it's well worth it. Not only to paramedics, but for doctors and nurses and nurse practitioners, as long as they study in places outside of Toronto per se. And up in Thunder Bay, we've seen an increase in paramedic enrollment by over 40%. As soon as we said we're going to pay for their education, the same happened with the police too, and nurses and everything. Over 40% since we launched the Learn and Stay program and paramedic services in Thunder Bay. They're staffed at 98%. Even though we go 50-50, but it falls under the municipalities and the regions to take care of the paramedics. We pitch in 50%, but we've increased the land ambulance service grant by $66 million. So that totals over $800 million across the province. And Thunder Bay receives almost $19 million each year. You know, I talk to a lot of paramedics. I love them, just like I love the firefighters and the police, our first responders. I always say paramedics. Imagine dealing with that every single day. And I know, Kevin, you're a firefighter for years. You go upon an accident and you see some terrible, terrible stuff. I give them all the credit in the world. I couldn't do that job. I'm telling you. So they're heroes, in my opinion. All three areas. They're first to respond, first to put their lives on the line to support us and save our lives. So I'm a massive fan of our paramedics, firefighters, and police.
Justin Hardy, TVT News.
Hi, Justin.
Hi. Turning back to the announcement today, with these potential projects coming to Northwestern Ontario, will your government look for ways of ensuring that these projects are majority owned by Ontarians and keeping that money in Ontario?
I want to, but we also have to be open to diversifying our trade. We want companies from around the world, not to invest in the U.S. or over in China or over in Europe. I want to encourage them to invest here, just like we've seen. We've seen over $70 billion, a mixture of companies that are coming here to invest, and it's the quality of the people. It's the quality of the people right behind me, quality of the people. That's our number one selling feature, is the people. Our colleges and universities are graduating 70,000 STEM graduates, science, technology, engineering, and math every single year. So we have the best sub-sovereign nation anywhere in the entire world. That's where they're coming. So yes, it's always ideal to get investment directly here. The First Nations communities will always be involved. It doesn't matter who invests. But I want other countries' money. I want to bring their money into Ontario. That's what creates jobs. And $70 billion of investment. And folks, So just think, before we got elected, because of high taxes, red tape, regulations, high electricity costs, 300,000 jobs were chased out of our province. All we saw is taillights heading down to the US border. Now there's over 850,000 jobs, new jobs. Folks like right here at Leuna, they're out there building projects. We're going to continue investing over $222 billion in infrastructure. And those are jobs for life. When you get trained in a skilled trade that we're investing now $2.5 billion. We first threw out $1 billion, and now we threw another $1.5 billion because we need people in the skilled trades. Think of this, 1 in 5 people in the next 5 years, anywhere from 5 to 10 years, it's going to be skilled trades. And once you have a skilled trade, no one could ever take that off you. You'll have it for life. No matter where you move in the province, where you move in the country, you'll have that skilled trade. And that's why we're investing into our people.
And just as a follow-up, should these projects go through, that'll be a lot of money that this region is producing for the rest of the province.
Yep.
Will we be seeing in-kind investments back into our local infrastructure, healthcare?
100%. As Kevin mentioned, when he told me that, I knew it was a lot of money, but just him being up here, having a voice. And folks, you got to see this guy at the cabinet table. He's literally jumping up and down on the cabinet table. We joke around, but he's doing his job for the people of Thunder Bay. This guy has a voice of 10 people at the cabinet table, I can assure you. That's why you probably have you twisted your knee jumping on the table. But what is it, 1.3 billion? It's really unheard of. 1.3 billion and 100 and whatever 8 visits from ministers. Nowhere in the province is getting more love, but it's just going to continue moving forward. Just imagine, I'm painting the scenario. Out in Alberta, the oil sands, they pay for a lot of bills, right? They don't have the provincial tax. Their oil, our mines are their oil. If we get these critical minerals out of the ground, we can do so many things. We can, invest more, even though we have record investments in our healthcare and in education and in infrastructure. But then we start lowering taxes. Rather than giving people $200, we should be giving them $1,000 as long as we get the critical minerals out of the ground flowing. But we can't be held up by the federal government is just constantly, folks, constantly, they put barrier after barrier after barrier, and then they come out and they say, well, we want to get to our critical minerals. Well, stop putting the barriers in front of us. And by the way, natural resources fall under the authority of all provinces and territories. It does not fall under the federal government, so they need to get out of our business, get out of the way, and let the folks here start moving, building infrastructure. That's what we need.